In this video, we will talk about how you can tell if a relation is a function. So a relation is a pairing of a set of inputs with a set of outputs. So every function is a relation, but not every relation is a function, and that's what we need to determine. Are these relations functions? So we know that a relation is a function if every input has exactly one output. The way I like to explain this is with, I don't know, like a little diagram that I like to call a function machine. So if we pretend, I don't know, we've got like an input X that comes here into some sort of machine. I'm not the best artist here, but I think of some machine here. We got legs that it stands on, and inside we got cogs and wheels or whatever, right? And, I don't know, levers and pulleys. Anyway, so we've got some machine where you have an input that goes in. So here's our input, where we put things into the machine. And when a number comes inside, does all these different things inside, and it spits out a different number over here. So here's our output. So in order to determine if a relation is a function, every input has to have its own output. What that means, let's look at example A here. What that means is I want to determine if every time I put in a 3, does a 1 come out, right? So if I put in a 3, I look at all the other inputs and say, okay, are there any other 3s that I'm putting in? The answer is no. Okay, and so that means for every 3 that I put in, I will be getting a 1 out. So I put in a 3, a 1 will spit out. Let's look at the second one. I check to see if every time I put in a 5, a 2 should come out, right? So there are no other 5s for inputs in example number A, letter A. And so that means that every single time I put a 5 in, a 2 will come out. So 5 and a 2. And the same thing goes with whenever I put a 7 in, a 3 will come out because there's no other 7s that I'll be inputting into my function machine. So every time I put a 7 in here, a 3 is going to come out over here. And then at the end, here I have a 9 I put in. So I put in a 9 and a 2 comes out. Now what might be confusing for some students is this, that we had two 2's that came out in this function. That doesn't matter. What matters is if every time I put in a 5, did a 2 come out every single time I put a 5 in? In this case, the answer is yes. And if every time I put in a 9, did a 2 come out each time I put in a 9? And the answer is yes. So then, yes, this is a function. Okay, because every input produced exactly one output. So let's look at example B here. I'm going to erase these numbers here. Let's look at example B, and let's check my inputs and outputs here. So in this example, if I put in a 4, so the first one says I put a 4 into my machine here. I input a 4 in, it does its magic here in the machine, and out spits a 0. Okay, that's fine so far. Now, look what I have next on my table here. I have another 4. So I put in a 4 in again, inside the machine does its little magic, right? And out comes a 1. Okay, so this means that it's not a function because whenever I put a 4 into my function machine, it produced different output. It wasn't consistent and didn't produce the same output. That would make it right there that this is not a function. So no, this is not a function. So again, you have to remember that every input has to produce exactly one output, and it can't change in order for it to be a function. Now, one other way you can tell if you have a graph, if a line is a function, or if a function is, or rather, if the relation is a function, is using a vertical line test. And so if you're looking at a graph, a vertical line test is a function. So we look at a relation, imagine a vertical line going up and down. It is a function if you never touch more than one part of the graph at a time. Okay, so if you slide that vertical line from left to right, would you ever touch more than one point at a given time? In this case, you wouldn't. So yes, this is a function. And the second one here, again, if I do a vertical line test, would I ever touch more than one point at once? The answer is no. I don't ever touch more than one point at once. So yes, it's a function. So if we look at the vertical line test here, this last one, if you notice, if I do a vertical line right here, I will touch more than one point at a time. That would mean that every time I input whatever value, whatever x value this is, I would get multiple y values out. That makes this not a function because each input does not have its very own output. It doesn't consistently produce the same output. So that's not a function. So that's how you can tell if relations are functions by using the vertical line test and by using just a function machine.